money, and this by using the horrible Wahhabi thought that is being spread in Syria. From this rostrum, I tell you, you know, as I know, that it will not stop in Syria. But some in this room does not want to understand that. Everything I have said, ladies and gentlemen, would never have happened had the neighbor been there in time of need. Nevertheless, the neighbors of Syria were either backstabbing it, or they were just standing silent, or very weak, being given orders, and that for plans that some have put for years in order to destroy Syria. All of this would not have happened had it not been for the government of Erdogan. This government that allowed terrorism in its land, arming them and training them to reach Syria. And they did not know that magic will turn against the magician one day. And today they see that terrorism has no religion. And from problems with neighbors, we see the problems in foreign policy, international diplomacy, and everything else. Nevertheless, this government has continued these actions because of assuming that their historic dream would be realized. They put corruption everywhere, from Tunisia to Libya to Egypt to Syria, and that in order to implement a dream that's only in their sick minds, they insist to continue. And this can only be described as stupidity. Who does not learn from history shall lose the present. History says your neighbor's house cannot burn while your house is absolutely safe. Nevertheless, some neighbors have lit the fires in Syria and have brought terrorists from all parts of the world. And here we see the horrible, tragic irony. 83 nationalities are fighting in Syria, and nobody condemned that, and nobody changed his position, and they continue calling it the noble Syrian revolution. And while just scores of men who were fighting with the army in some areas, this led to a whole movement and to calling it external interference, and they asked for foreign forces to leave and to preserve the Syrian sovereignty. In this context, I reiterate that Syria, the independent state, shall do all that is necessary to defend itself as it deems appropriate, and that without listening to all the cries, the statements, and the positions that have been announced by many. Such are pure Syrian decisions. In spite of all that, the Syrian people is steadfast until we have seen sanctions against the people, against the bread of the people, the milk of the children. And at the same time, we have seen factories, food and medication factories that have been burnt. We have seen the destruction of railroads and main electric infrastructure. Even places of worship, be they Christian or Muslim, they were also targeted. And even the United States threatened to an aggression against Syria, and they fabricated the information with those with whom they have certain interests, and that under the story of the use of chemical weapons. However, their people were not convinced, nor were we. Nevertheless, the people of democracy, freedom, and human rights, unfortunately, only speak the language of blood, of war, of colonization and hegemony. Democracy is being imposed by fire, and freedom through aircraft. It is considering that it has the last word. They have forgotten or pretend to forget that who did suicide operations in New York was the same as him doing so in Syria. They have forgotten that terrorism was yesterday in the United States. Today it is in Syria. As for tomorrow, nobody knows. But what is sure is it shall not stop here. Afghanistan was a good example for those who wish to understand. Most of them do not wish to understand, nor the United States, nor some civilized Western countries who they have all tasted the bitterness of terror. Suddenly, they became the friends of Syria. Four of them totalitarian regimes that know nothing of democracy and kingdoms. Some were colonizers of Syria. They have divided the country for over 100 years, and now they are holding conferences in order to enhance their friendship with the Syrian people. They are putting the people under siege, imposing sanctions, and supporting terrorism in Syria secretly, while speaking of the horrible humanitarian situation. If you really feel concerned about the humanitarian situation in Syria, then let us be. Stop supporting the weapons and the terrorists, stop the sanctions and the siege, and go back to the policy of reason. Then we tell you that we will be just fine.
We may wonder, is everything that is happening in Syria merely the deed of external forces? No, ladies and gentlemen. The Syrians here in this very hall have contributed to all that I have previously mentioned. They executed, facilitated, legitimized these acts at the expense of the Syrian people, which they claim to represent. They were divided amongst themselves many times over. Their local leaders also sought refuge outside. They sold themselves to Israel. They were the eye of Israel that sees and the hand of Israel that destroys. And when they failed, Israel intervened on their behalf to spare them the attacks of the Syrian Arab army and to help were doing Israel's bidding. Our people was being slaughtered while they were put up in five-star hotels. They opposed outside Syria. They betrayed Syria outside Syria. They sold themselves to the highest bidder. They pretend to speak for the Syrian people. No, ladies and gentlemen, whoever wants to speak for the Syrian people must not be a traitor. He must not be an agent of its enemy. Whoever wants to speak for the Syrian people must come to Syria, live in Syria, see what is happening, say goodbye to his children before they leave for school, as they will not, as maybe they will not come back due to the shelling by outside forces. They must bear the ice cold because we have been deprived of fuel. They must stand in long queues to buy bread because we have been deprived of wheat, although we were previously exporters. Whoever wants to speak for the Syrian people must stand steadfast under terrorism, resist terrorism, fight terrorism, and then he can say he is speaking for the Syrian people. The Syrian Arab Republic, ladies and gentlemen, the state and the people has met all the demands made on us. We have opened our doors to journalists who have reported reality to you, a reality which was unbearable for the Western media because it did not correspond to what they wanted to see in Syria. And there are countless examples that I shall not list. We have allowed humanitarian organizations access. However, the tools of certain people who are present here have prevented them from having access by shooting at them. we were carrying out our duty as a state. We provided them with protection and facilities, and we have also released many detainees and armed people, which has caused the anger of certain Syrians inside. However, they understood that Syria was valuable and that we must forgive all those who have trespassed against us. What have you done, you who claim that you are speaking for the Syrian people? Where is your vision for this great country? Where are your ideas? Where is your political program? What are the tools for change on the ground except for the armed terrorist groups? I am quite sure that you have nothing. And this is clear to those who are near and to those who are far, especially in the regions which have been occupied by your mercenaries, or what you call the regions that you have freed. Have you really brought freedom to these regions? Have you not abducted their moderation by your repressive practices? Did you build health centers? Did you build schools? Did you not destroy hospitals? Did you not allow polio to spread, to come back to Syria after Syria was polio-free? Did you really preserve and protect our archaeological sites and museums? Did you not loot these historical sites? Did you not trade in artifacts? Did you show your commitment to justice and human rights? Did you not decapitate people and publicly execute them? You did nothing at all. You only brought shame to Syria by begging the United States of America to launch a military attack against Syria. Even the opposition that you claim to lead, the opposition repudiates you, rejects you. The people of Syria want a Syria that is one single unit, and I'm not referring here to the various religious communities or racial communities. For you, those who do not agree with you are infidels. They killed the Muslims regardless of their denominations. They killed the Christians. Even the nuns were not spared. They were abducted after attacking Ma'lula, the last town in which the language of Christ is still spoken, in order to force the Christians in Syria to leave, but they failed. We are all Christians when Christianity is attacked. We are all Muslims when mosques are attacked. We are all Syrians from Raqqa, Latakia, Suwaida, Homs, Halab, when these towns are attacked.
Can you just wrap up? Because you have spoken only 20 minutes, longer than 20 minutes.
Mr. Secretary, you spoke 25 minutes.
Yeah, I know you have.
I came here after 12 hours in the aeroplane.
Yeah, I know you have a lot to speak.
Few minutes to end my speech. Yeah. This is Syria.
How much do you have left now?
I think 5-10 minutes.
Oh, no, it's not true. It's not. Can you just, I will give you another, opportunity.
No, I
at
can't
the end,
divide my speech.
I
must continue.
You have already spoken 20
I'll do
minutes.
my best to be...
Can you just wrap up in just 1 or 2 minutes?
No, I can't promise you. I must finish my speech.
Then I will have to give equal time to opposition group. So
yourself, you live in New York, I live in Syria. I have the right to give the Syrian version here in this forum.
Yes, of course, I do not
After 3 years of suffering, this is my right.
This, we have to have some constructive and harmonious dialogue. Please refrain from any inflammatory remarks and accusing some member state participating here, which will not be constructive at this time.
It is constructive. I promise you to be constructive. Let me finish my speech.
within 2 or 3 minutes, please.
Okay.
2 or 3 minutes, and I will give you another opportunity, okay?
Another 20 minutes, no? باختصار أيها السادة
your glorious revolution did not leave one single evil deed on earth.